too. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call our regular council meeting of Tuesday, May 24th to order. Going to just check on, we are live streamed now, so thank you very much, and thank you for all of you that are joining us remotely. We have an agenda in front of us. Mr. Coleman, any changes from administration?
Just one change, Madam Chair. Our second staff introduction is unavailable today, so we'll be just having the one.
Thank you. Need someone to move as amended. Councillor Balazer, thank you very much. All in favor? It's unanimous. We have minutes of our May 10th meeting. Someone want to move those? Councillor Wanchuk, thank you very much. All in favor? It's unanimous. We have an opportunity at the beginning of every meeting for anyone who is not on the agenda but wishes to address council on an item can come forward at this time. Seeing nobody come forward, we'll move on to staff introductions, and we start with yourself, Mr. Coleman.
Madam Chair, I'm just going to go over to the front here.
Or the back, depending on how you look at it.
So, Madam Chair, it's my privilege this afternoon to introduce our newest staff member, and that's Miranda Anderson. She comes to us from the city of Beaumont. She comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge, and will be a great fit to our Leduc County team. It is her second time around with us. She worked for us previously, so it's always wonderful to get someone back that has worked for us before, understands our culture, understands the organization. I think she'll be a great fit for council. She has lots of energy, great ideas, really capable person to help serve your needs as council. So Miranda, come on up and get your official welcome from the mayor.
Welcome back, Miranda.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome. Next, we're going to move into service awards.
Sure. I'd like to recognize Rick Clarenbach. He's been the transportation attendant with us for 5 years. For me, I think that Rick is basically the epitome of what he expects a transportation attendant to be. He's kind, he's courteous, he helps you out. His site's absolutely spectacular. It's really, it looks like a park. It looks absolutely phenomenal. He knows everybody. He sees somebody driving down the road and he can say that's 0142. He can drop off information. He knows everybody, he knows their numbers. It's an absolute pleasure to work with. So what I'd like to do today is recognize Rick for his service. Thank you.
Congratulations. Glad to hear that. Good customer service. We love that. Thank you, and I hope to have you around for a lot more weeks.
Madam Mayor and Council, it's my absolute pleasure to recognize Candida Pettigrew for 10 years of service with Leduc County. So Candida started with us as a seasonal admin support person in the agricultural services, and then supported the organization for multiple years until she moved into the road operations department. Candida supports road operations, engineering, utilities, agricultural services, and all other departments when the need is there. Love the fact that Candida and Donna are the face to our road operations, engineering, and utility department. When our residents come through for desperate applications or whatever it is Candida they are dealing with. It is Candida on the phone along with Donna. And the service that they provide to our residents, how courteous they are, their care, their compassion is second to none. So with that, I would like to recognize her for 10 years of service, and she is an absolute perfect fit for our road operations group.
Thank you. And on behalf of council, Candida, thank you for the care that I hear that you provide to our customers every single time they phone. Not always the happiest when they phone your operations. I realize that, and we appreciate the extra time you take with our developments. So thank you. Moving on to 5A, which is Leduc Regional Housing Foundation, appointment of member, Mr. Coleman.
Yes, Madam Chair, as Councillor Smith indicated at our last meeting, his desire to step back from this committee, we need to appoint a new member to fulfill that responsibility. So if there's more than interest of one, we'll do a ballot, but if there's only one, then we just need a council motion to ratify that appointment.
Mr. Coleman, I'd be pleased to put my name forward. I've sat on the Housing Foundation previously and would be happy to fill it. And we're open for any other.
Seeing none, Madam Chair, a motion would be in order to appoint you to the Housing Foundation.
Councillor Lewis.
Happy to make that motion.
All right, thank you very much. And we don't have to vote on that, of course, because we only have one person. I assume, Mr. Coleman?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
All right, 5B, taking action, confined feeding operation application, request for funding. This is yours again, Mr. Coleman.
Yes,
Whenever
in
you're
your
ready.
Madam Chair, members of council, in your agenda package, there is a request from the Pigeon Lake Watershed Association. And they're looking for municipal contributions from all 12 municipalities around the Pigeon Lake area. They're asking for a $5,000 contribution to defend the Pigeon Lake and Watershed Initiative. They're also looking for a donation and community engagement piece that we help find volunteers and donors for their fight against the application that's been made for expanding a intensive livestock operation in the Pigeon Lake area. So it's in front of you for your consideration. Just for note, there is our sponsorship funding is full, so there is no additional money available in the sponsorship budget. So if council should desire to support the request, it would require money out of reserves or reallocation of existing funds.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Smith.
Just clarification on the process. So is this going to some provincial board yet that requires more advocacy work on it? Just again, if you can just update us where it's at and how it will be handled by government. Thank you.
Yes, so this decision is actually a provincial decision. So it's left with the province to decide siting of intensive livestock operations. As council is aware, it's not even in the municipality. It's not in our municipality. It's in another adjacent municipality. But the Pigeon Lake Watershed Association is seeking funding support to fight this enterprise.
Could I just do a follow-up?
You can, if you could use your microphone. Yep.
So will there be like a hearing, utility board hearing or something where, again, the county may have an opportunity to be an intervener, not necessarily a contributor to a group that we have no control over their messaging or where they're going? And if the county could the county be an intervener at that hearing?
Yes, there's opportunity for affected stakeholders to be involved in the hearing process.
Okay, if I could do one more follow-up.
That absolutely.
Again, I know we don't have an official council position on it yet to be funding anything. And I know if there's a hearing coming up and there is an official position by council, we can be an intervener and make that presentation for or against it. Again, just looking at what they have before us today is we're contributing to an initiative where we don't have control of the outcome, including the consultants, the legal firm, and we're just putting money in. And I'm not sure whether putting money in, and if it goes in a direction that's not supported by our residents, it could be a problem. However, I am all in for intervener status if that's where we go, attending much as we did for the power lines out east. We provided support at a level where we were in control of what we were doing. So I would like to see the county come up with a position on it and also lobby for or against them based on that position where we control the messaging. Thank you.
Councillor Scobie.
I guess my thought
there's several issues that I guess I wouldn't support this. One, it's out of our county to start with. Next, it is a provincial decision on the feedlot. And I think it's not that we've got residents that aren't against it either. So that aren't opposed to the feedlots. So to contribute to a fight against something like this, where not all residents are feeling this way, I just don't feel that we should be supporting one side of this argument.
Thank you, Councillor Vandenberg.
So this is for us to take a look at this, we need to have a whole lot more information. So I've heard a lot, read a lot about what's happening in the news and the media, and actually heard on 6:30 Chad this morning a biologist speak to the lake itself and how it is inherent, how it is. And that's the first real piece of information that I've gotten on this. I would not be comfortable forming a position until I had a lot more information than what is typically being bounced around in the media.
Thank you, Councillor Balazer, and then Councillor Lewis.
I've got to say over the last while, this is right next to my division in Wetaskiwin County. I have been in contact with the councillor of that division where this is located. And she informed me the other day this came before their council and they denied funding. For the simple fact, and it's the same thing happened to her, this happened to me. I've received numerous phone calls on both sides of this fence. For us to take a position and support this means we're siding with one side. And I don't feel that this county or us should be siding with anybody. This is a rural initiative that's going on. If we side with one, we got the farmers mad. If we side with the lake or with the farmers, we got the lake mad. And I don't feel we should be supporting money that is taking taxpayers' money to support one side or the other. So I certainly at this point am going to be against funding this.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. I too would not support this motion of spending money to fight with legal bills in another municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions, or debate? If not, Councillor Lewis.
I'd be happy to make the motion.
Your motion is that we deny the request for funding?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It is there. Is that appropriate for you, Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is on the floor. Seeing no other hands up for debate, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 6A. Pagnata request for offsite levy reimbursement. Mr. Mariglod, this is yours.
Yes, Madam Chair.
In 2016, Pagnata Holdings developed a 10-acre parcel in the southwest of 1850-24 west of 4th Meridian. On the second page of the report, you'll see a diagram showing where this parcel is located. It is just north of Airport Road and just to the east of 9th Street. A condition of their development permit was, prior to commencement of development, the landowner applicant shall enter into a development agreement with the county to abide by the terms therein, addressing, among other matters, extension of municipal services with landscaping. It was determined that Pagnata Holdings needed to extend the water service to the property. This was extended from the intersection of Airport Road and 9th Street, east towards the property. This line that they extended has been identified within our offsite levy bylaw as offsite levy eligible infrastructure, eventually forming part of the loop that will continue over to the south end of the South Vistas, completing that loop. Just as a matter of background, offsite levies are funds provided by the developer to the county for infrastructure has been identified by a municipality as required to support development. This can be used to fund water, wastewater, or road infrastructure, among others. The municipality uses these funds to pay for offsite levy eligible infrastructure to support development. In this case, Pagnotta Holdings provided their offsite levy payment as per the development agreement in the amount of $100,617.72. And this was then put into the water offsite levy reserve. As per condition 16 of the development permit, they entered into a front ending agreement for the offsite levy infrastructure and also constructed the water line. The front ending agreement outlines that since Pagnotta Holdings front ended the costs of the offsite levy eligible water line, they would be reimbursed for their project costs. The timing of the repayments at the county's discretion to allow for prudent capital planning by the county. Pagnotta has requested the expenses from the waterline construction amounting to $525,066.45 be reimbursed by the county. As a matter of record, the current balance of the water offsite levy reserve as of May 16th, 2022 is $15,140,418.01. Administration recommends that Pagnotta Holdings be reimbursed the $525,066.45 as per the terms and conditions of their front ending agreement.
Thank you. Open for questions. Councillor Vandenberg, Councillor Smith.
I don't have a question. I would like to make a motion.
Okay, you put a motion on the floor. That's fine.
I'd like to motion that Pagnotta Holdings be reimbursed $525,066.45 as per the terms and conditions of their front ending agreement.
Thank you. There is a motion on the floor. Councillor Smith.
I was going to make that motion and I will be supporting that today to return the offsite levies. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, a good corporate customer did what they said they were going to do, asking for their reimbursement. We should follow through and be good corporate citizens as well. Any further questions, comments, or debate on the motion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Usually don't spend money that quickly. Thank you. On to Mr. Van Beers.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Let's see if I can. Just coming before you today for a weed notice enforcement issue that we're going to potentially be having coming up soon. Just as a refresher for council, the Weed Control Act is what we use for our weed inspections and any notices that have to be issued for the control of weeds. One particular section is of note today, section 14, which is the contents of what must be contained in an inspector's notice. I direct your attention to points 3 and 4. The notice must not require the destruction of crops unless, in the inspector's opinion, the destruction of crops is necessary to control noxious weeds or destroy prohibited noxious weeds. And point 4, which is the notice must not require the destruction of more than 20 acres of growing crops unless the local authority of the municipality in which the crops are growing has consented in writing. For this particular issue, scentless chamomile is found on this property. As you're aware, scentless chamomile is a noxious weed under the Alberta Weed Control Regulation. So under the Weed Control Act, a person must control, which is inhibit the growth or spread of a weed or to destroy it, any noxious weed. Scentless chamomile is a very prolific seed producer. It can spread very quickly, especially when there's not a lot of competition in a field. They like it fairly open. They can take over. There are herbicide control options for the control of scentless chamomile. especially in grassy crops. So pasture land, cereals, things of that sort, Sandless chamomile is relatively easy to control. However, when there is a broadleaf crop, for example, alfalfa or canola, there are very limited options. And in fact, in some cases, no options for herbicide control that won't damage that crop. Easy, early and repeated cutting of Sandless chamomile is somewhat effective. However, it really only just reduces the growth. And if it's not done in a timely fashion before flowering, won't stop seed production. In this particular instance, on the northwest of 2652 west of the 5th meridian, this is a situation. Previous years, there had been weed issues, but 2021 was a severe infestation of Sandless chamomile throughout the property. Administration had been attempting to work with the landowner in charge on ensuring the control of the weed infestation on this property. But although the landowner was definitely interested and willing, was not able to get sufficient control through lack of timely control, I would say. This particular field does have an alfalfa grass mix for hay production for livestock and horses. So there is alfalfa in amongst this Sandless chamomile. Unfortunately, the Sandless chamomile infestation is severe. In our weed inspections all through 2021, they were listed as severe. So it is a heavy load of Sandless chamomile already. On October 8th, I issued a inspector's notice for the control of Sandless chamomile. Typically in these situations, we state cultivation, cutting, or spraying are viable control options to provide a few options. We set a date of June 15th to have the action completed on or before that date. It is our position, administration's position, that the cultivation of the field or herbicide control of the Sandless chamomile is most likely the most viable option for control of this infestation with these circumstances. Herbicide control will result in the destruction of most of the alfalfa present, however, as will cultivation if it went to that route. I did go out and inspect the property last Thursday with the landowner. And I did take a few pictures of what is present just for everyone's awareness. If I can get this thing to work. Find the right one. There we go.
Aaron, while that's pulling up, did they cut hay there on that piece last year?
So last year, it was kind of his first full year of having alfalfa growing in there. So it was very poor, lots of Sandless chamomile. We had repeatedly asked to get cutting done early, and there was attempts, maybe a couple of swaths were done and the equipment would break down or things of that sort.
Thank you.
So just see if, I don't know.
Yep.
That's coming through. This was an area where there was a majority of Sandless chamomile, as you can see. This is all Sandless chamomile with a little bit of stinkweed popping up here and there, just for added flavor. This is one that you can see. There's actually quite a bit of alfalfa growing in areas in here. However, there is still a lot of Sandless chamomile. Some of the areas of this field were actually, I would have been quite happy with as a alfalfa field. However, it is not a consistent catch across the field. The landowner did say that he had seeded a alfalfa Timothy mix. However, I did not see much evidence of any Timothy coming up, which I was somewhat surprised by. However, as an example, I think this was one, yeah. So there is alfalfa growing actually in some spots quite well with very little Sandless chamomile, but it's a dog's breakfast out there for sure.
Councillor Balazer?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Aaron, cutting this, all that's gonna do is make it grow short. When you get mayweed, it comes back up and all of it is shorter. And the next comment I would make, cultivating is just gonna push it around and help it grow a little more. So I think your only alternative is smoking.
Yeah.
And just get out there and spray it down. Now, this isn't gonna go over very well, probably. I don't know. Maybe that's the only
Yeah.
one that's gonna work.
So as I was walking the field with the landowner, we did talk about these options. He is in need of his alfalfa. And he has stated that he is willing to spot spray all of the scentless chamomile. If somebody is ambitious and is willing to put the time in,
46 acres of spots.
it could be done. However, our past experience with this particular landowner is, although the will is there, the ability sometimes isn't, and the timeliness is definitely at risk. So while I agree, we've had some very good success with controlling scentless chamomile in an alfalfa crop that's very healthy and cut. If it's cut early, we can get decent control because there is good competitive crop that takes over, right? However, in a situation like this, most of the plants are very small, so it's going to take a long time to really get that alfalfa coming strong. However, as I said, the landowner has indicated that he is willing to spray and spot spray. If he were to do that and complete across the whole field, that would be in compliance with the notice. It would probably require a follow-up notice in the future just to ensure that it's not going to be a one and done situation. It's going to be multiple applications, multiple years likely of control. However, in the event that the landowner is not able to complete that, we would need to go in and do the control. It is my opinion that the best way to control this would be through an herbicide application, which means we would be destroying some of that alfalfa crop. And as outlined in the Weed Control Act, we would require council's written consent to proceed with that. If we did not have that written consent, we would be going forward and applying a mowing application, whether we would hire a third-party contractor to come in and mow. In the event that we can do spraying, we would hire a third-party contractor to come and spray.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vandenberg, did you have a question?
Yeah, so what if this goes another season unchecked? What does that mean to that property and perhaps that which is around?
So a single scentless chamomile plant could produce as many as 100,000 seeds. So each plant that we let go increases it 100,000 fold, essentially.
Airborne?
They do not spread through the air as much. However, if a particular person were to cut it and swath it, but not bale it up, it can spread. The neighbors to the south of this property have expressed grave concerns about the scentless chamomile infestation in here. Mr. Coleman, Mr. Broadbent, and myself did go out and meet those landowners to the south, where they were very concerned with the lack of control going on, and it is spreading.
And if I may, and can't remind me again, how long have you been working with this in this situation?
With this particular landowner, or just as a fieldman for the county?
On this property, presumably with the same owner over that period of time?
Yes. So for this particular infestation of scentless chamomile, it was late 2020 and then all of 2021 where it got out of control. We've had other issues with this particular property with Canada thistle and a little bit of scentless chamomile again, but it was mostly Canada thistle that was the situation, which again, cutting is a little bit more viable option for that situation.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Lewis, and then I have a comment.
Thank you. Can you just clarify that the address of this property says it's in Warburg? Can you just clarify your authority to issue the weed notice?
Oh, because this is actually within Leduc County. So that 50459 Range Road 22 is what we'd call the municipal address. The legal land location is the north half of the northwest of 26 Township 50, Range 2, west of the 5th Meridian.
Just to follow up, I was just looking at the top where it said the address at the very top.
Let's see. Just might have a post office.
Oh, yes. So that is the mailing address of this particular landowner.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
my apologies. Yeah.
I'm just gonna, I have a question and then a comment, and then I have Counselor Scobie and then Counselor Smith. On your last point prior to the attachments, so page 17 of 43, it says destruction of more than 20 acres of growing crop. So more, does that mean the whole 46 when it says more, and that's just how we divide it up?
So under the Weed Control Act, it states anything greater than 20 acres must have written consent.
My second one is just a comment. If the infestation is as bad as you show, although I appreciate the farmer talking about the need for alfalfa, there won't be any alfalfa. I mean, it will have a hard time competing.
Yes.
Especially if it's another dry year, it will be the scentless chamomile that has the advantage for sure. So thank you for that, Counselor Scobie, and then Counselor Smith.
I guess I just want to make the comment. I had the calls from the neighbor last year that he was arguing and fighting and complaining all year long about this stuff. And I know Aaron and the crew worked with the landowner to try and get something done. It wasn't very effective. These guys have diligently picked mayweed out in their fields. And then last fall, after he swathed it and the mayweed come rolling through over the fence like tumbleweed, he was pretty discouraged and pretty upset that if we don't do something about this, that I'm not sure where he's going to go from there. But he's, we can't just let this go anymore. It needs to be corrected, and now. So.
Thank you, Counselor Smith, and then Counselor Balazer.
And again, weed control is ongoing. We've had to have fields plowed under for club root. There seems to be a lot of notices. I know I even got a notice from the county to cut some of my thistle, which I did. Had I not, I probably would have been on it. So today we have recommendations before us. I would like to move that Leduc County Council consent in writing to enforcement of the inspector's notice issue on N12 NW 2652 W5.
Thank you very much, Counselor Balazer.
Just one other further comment. I do know that if you're going to do your due diligence and go out there and cut it and bale it and try to get it off, you're putting it through a cow that's going to fertilize the seeds on the way out. And you're going to spread it twice as bad as what you had before. So I agree with Councilor Scobie. Something's got to be done now because it'll just get worse.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor to support the weed notice. Counselor Scobie.
I guess, Aaron, would we be kind of still giving him the chance to go out and do his spot spray by the 15th? Like it's obviously there. He could be doing it now. So that gives him what, 3 weeks here yet to go out and do a significant impact on it. But if it doesn't show to be happening, then this would step up and we would take care of it.
Yeah, with any spot spray type situation, you're traveling and looking and identifying an area and then spraying it. So there is a risk of missing those areas, but provided that he is diligent at it and goes out multiple times, it is possible that he could do it. However, and I discussed this with him as well, in those circumstances, he's going to have to reseed those areas to prevent any further flush of scentless chamomile come. And I strongly recommended that a grass mix, which he agreed with, would be a better option in those circumstances.
Counselor Vandenberg, your microphone's on.
So I'm a little bit.
Microphone, sir. Thank you.
I just want to confirm the motion that's in front of us, which is this council, upon being approved, would give you the tool in the toolbox to do this work, or you are going to do the work?
So when we issue a weed notice, we have the responsibility of ensuring that that weed notice is enforced. In the event, what this motion does is it would provide administration with the opportunity to do the most effective weed control, which would be the spraying for the destruction of the scentless chamomile, which would unfortunately destroy any alfalfa growing there as well. In the event that this motion was not approved, what would happen is we would still have the opportunity to enforce that notice, but we would have to go to a mowing and work with it that way, which would be less effective.
Thank you. And further to that, while that is good, I'll remind you that I trust that you'll use your best judgment, but it's a matter of resources too. So, I mean, the longer you work with, the more resource time that is taking as well. When really at the end of the day, get it dealt with, because as Councillor Scobie has mentioned, the neighbors to the south have done everything in their power to notify the county that they have some grave concerns. So the more we dilly-dally with this, it does not resolve the situation, but you guys will use your best judgment. I know that.
And thank you. Whenever we issue a weed notice, we give a certain amount of time. In the growing season, it's typically 10 days to 2 weeks, because it gives those landowners the opportunity to perform that work. However, when we issued this in the fall of 2021, we didn't know what the growing conditions would be like here, which is why we set an arbitrary date of June 15th. It provides some opportunity to get things growing, to provide that control. Ideally, if the landowner was out there yesterday starting spraying, that would be great. However, we have until the 15th of June to ensure that a proper job is done. And in that event, come June 16th, we would be able to go and enforce.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have a motion on the floor that we consent in writing to the enforcement of the inspector's weed notice. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Honesty.
Good afternoon. We have before you a few policies that are being renewed, previously approved by council in 2018, and most recently reviewed by the policy committee a few weeks ago. There are no significant changes to these policies, just a few minor adjustments and alterations, but the core intent of these policies has remained the same. And all four policies are effective tools for us to support the community. The first being our facility support special projects policy, which allows us to assist our not-for-profits with any rehabilitations or repairs to their facilities. The second, CDO2, which is the funding that we provide annually to our community associations for grants and for programs and events. CDO3, which allows us to provide annual operating support to our not-for-profit facilities. And CDO5, which is our cemetery funding policy, which was a new policy 3 years ago. And although it hasn't been utilized, it is an effective tool for us to let our cemeteries, which are on county land, know that there is funding available if they should so need it. So we're recommending, and as per the policy committee, is recommending support of those four policies.
Thank you, Mr. Honesty. Let's start, go through the first one. Any questions? CD01. Councillor Scobie, do you have any further comments as chair of policy committee on that?
I guess nothing further than what Dean has mentioned. They all were doing the job they were supposed to be doing. They tweaked a little wording, and but they'd come up for renewal or review. So the time has come, and so it's just a matter of reviewing them and letting them carry on.
Okay, thank you. Any council questions on CDO1, Community Facilities Special Projects? Seeing no hands. Any comments or questions on CD02, Community Association Grant Funding? Seeing no hands. CD03, Community Facility Operating Funding. Seeing none. CD05, Community Cemetery Funding. Councillor Vandenberg.
So just a question, and I'm clear that this is a policy on county-owned properties. But has there been any interest from the public on non-county properties to help with their maintenance or the funding of maintaining their cemetery of late?
Yeah, we do have a letter that was sent to council that we're preparing a recommendation in the near future here back to council. So we regularly hear from other cemeteries across the county that aren't county owned, looking for different resources to supports. And we do have one active that we're just recommending on currently. So
Okay.
that'll come forward in the next couple of weeks.
So the thing that I was interested in is the frequency or the size of the request. Because I remember back involved in this policy committee, that came up. What about? And so the policy was only for a county at that time. So I'm just curious to see if something's changed.
It is, it hasn't changed. The need and the risk to those cemeteries that aren't owned by the county is still very much present. This policy doesn't address that, but it's something that, council and administration both have to be aware of to look into the future.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I am seeing none. There is a recommendation that County Council approve the following revised community development policies: CDO1, Community Facility Special Projects; CD02, Community Association Grant Funding; CD03, Community Facilities Operating Funding; and CD05, Community Cemetery Funding. Someone want,
I
Councillor?
would make that motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Scobie will put his name to that motion. I am seeing no comments or questions, so I will call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much for your hard work on those and to your staff. On to Mr. Nelson. Welcome, and whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council. Good day. I bring to you today a revised, updated version of the what's known as the Community Peace Officer Performance Plan. As you know, we started this program back in 2019, and we've revised it every year since that time. And it gets better and better with the input from you folks and our members of the community. Essentially, it's a guiding document that outlines the department priorities that we've identified with that input, which helps us tailor the peace officer activities and the resources that we have to serve the community in the most efficient way. It is a public document, and it's important that the public sees and understands the activities that this council endorses and that Leduc County provides to them. Just to highlight a couple of additional changes that happened this year, as we spoke about at the workshop, we added the strategies that complement the goals and objectives that were already there, and the key performance indicators that have been there since 2019, updated numbers and figures. We also, in addition to the strategies that we added for each of the priorities, we also allocated a percentage of time spent on those priorities, so that it provides additional clarity as to when, how, and why we do the things that we do. So I'm bringing that revised document to this council for review and endorsement, and I'm prepared to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you for that. And we did have an opportunity to work through this page by page at a workshop just a few weeks ago. Is that correct, Mr. Nelson?
It is, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions on the adapted or adopt or change document. Go ahead.
Again, I thank you for going through and highlighting what your goals are. The public can pick this document up and they can, again, look at your strategic planning and what they can expect from you. And I know you'll deliver on those measurables. So thank you for laying this out for our residents, for council. And again, we know what your focus will be and our residents do. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vandenberg.
So I know that this is a growing document, dynamic, it changes, and I'm glad to be a part of it through our Enforcement Services Committee as well. Something that strikes me as quite being interested is the pie chart now. And for the first one, you've got promoting and enhancing traffic safety as 40% of your time. That, as I look down through the list of other just as important items, I'm wondering if, using your good judgment, 40% is being very cautious when when you have the opportunity to put more of your time into multi-agency assistance, other county departments, and meaningful community engagement, those sorts of things. It just seems like a lot of energy and resource going into that particular one, when others are 5, 8, 10% of your time. So just a comment that I've noticed. And of course, being a part of the committee, I will be kind of focused on that when you do come back and report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I am seeing none. And again, just a reminder that we did have an opportunity as council to work through this page by page. And so really it is the final document with the few tweaks done by Mr. Nelson that we're looking at today. I think it's very positive that we actually have a performance plan, that we have measurables, that we can look as a council as a way to hold our community peace officers accountable for the work that they do and the tax dollars that are spent on the work that they do as well. So any other comments or questions? Councillor Lewis?
Thank you. Mr. Nelson, you mentioned when we went through the workshop that we are one of the only municipalities that have a community peace officer performance plan.
Yes, other communities have looked at rough priorities and so forth. That's not uncommon, but the level of detail and the input from this council and the revised revisions that have happened over the past 2, 3, 4 years, I've not been able to find anything like this in the province. In fact, our colleagues often call me for advice on how to do something similar. So we're very proud of this document. Yeah.
Thank you. Might be a great thing to share at RMA or an event like that, if you can get yourself in there for a session. If only we had someone on RMA on council.
Absolutely.
I was going to say for a fee, but not for me. For the good work that you've done, it's a revenue generator as far as I can tell. But yes, yeah, so noted.
I'd be happy to make the motion that we accept that. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, our next item is an in-camera item, so I will look for Mr. Coleman. You.
Yes, Madam Chair. So just a motion to go in camera, and then this item will be led by Deputy Mayor Smith.
Okay, Councillor Vanner.
thing, but is then the review committee's work done after today? So therefore, the review committee is made up of third party whose work would be done after today?
If I could, Mayor, it's made up of a mayor or deputy mayor administration, and in the policy, it says to hire an investigator, a third party, which we did. So right now, Dwayne and I are working on the policy as indicated within county responsibilities, and they have a third party hired auditor to present the findings today. And I need to go into camera to be able to share where we're at. I have documents to hand out, and I can tell you what today will look like. We will be back at this table at another point.
Councillor Vandenberg, is that sufficient before we
I
go in
guess
camera?
I'm kind of have to wait and see.
Yeah, and if I could, Mayor, that's the thing, let's go with it. Dwayne and I have been really going through the policy step by step. This is the first time we've ever used it. It was only developed 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and it needs to be reviewed now. But we've tried to every step of the way go through and interpret the policy as it was intended to protect staff, to protect the integrity of the investigation, as well as privacy, according to the provincial. So again, my advice would be, let's go through the process. If people aren't satisfied with it today, maybe they can set an appointment up to speak to the committee, the way and I with what we're doing. But today, we need to release the findings according to policy. So that was the goal today.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Blaser, move in camera. All in favor? Thank you. And just let us know when we're ready and we're in camera. You bet.
Yes. I mean, this game with goaltender, no, he's always about a minute. Good.
Remember, NHL hockey's like that. You're making enough money to make care.
Thank you very much for joining us. We only made one motion in camera, and that was to come out of camera. That motion was made by Councillor Smith. With that, I will, we have no other motions coming out of in camera. So I will adjourn our meeting at 3:07. Thank you for joining us, and go Oilers go.